Hello and welcome to the Central Lyon George Little Rock Football Podcast, brought to you by the CLGLR Quarterback Club. We're recording live from the Rock River Brewery in downtown Rock Rapids. Now, here are your hosts, former CLGLR head coach Toby Lorenzen, current offensive line coach Dwayne Postma, and current CLGLR head coach Curtis Eben.
Back to pass is Zach. Now he's going to tuck. He's going to run. He's got room right up the middle of the field. Cuts to the outside. To the race to the corner. Will Zach get there? Yes, he will. Zach Lutmer's got the touchdown.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the CLGLR Football Podcast. I'm Jeff Cruz, stepping in tonight for head coach Curtis Eben, who is unable to make it tonight. He's at a funeral out of state. So I was voluntold that I'm going to be moderating tonight. Want to introduce the other host, like we said, Dwayne Postma, Toby Lorenzen, as always with us tonight. And tonight our guests are going to be Chris Logan, Joe Murphy, Matt Sieperda, and Heybo Julius.
Welcome, guys.
It's already loud in here. So, first of all, thank everyone for being here, and especially our guests. Heybo joining us from Arizona, so I want to thank him for that. We want to start with trivia like we do with each episode. So last week at the end of the episode, the question leading in, which is probably an easy question for a lot of people, but in 1988, Central Lyon hired 7 new teachers. Which one is still on staff at Central Lyon? There's only one left of that 7 after last year's retirements.
Deb Snyder's.
No, not Deb Snyder's, Joe. He might be sitting very close.
Toby.
Toby Lorenzen.
Yeah.
Toby Lorenzen.
So am I the only stupid one left still working, or?
No.
Nope. It's gonna take more than that to get rid of me.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it seems like forever ago. You know, I was only 6 years older than these guys when I started working at Central Lyon. So
That is crazy.
yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And we were neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. Right across the street.
It's been so long, Tob, I could have swore that you came sooner than 88.
Yeah. Remember that first summer we did a lot of lifting together, didn't we? We lifted weights.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that spacious weight room here in a little bit too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got that comment from
Yeah.
another one of the old players, Danny Van Ruckel's commenting on that.
Coach, you have less gray hair than I do, so
Yeah,
you're
I don't
looking
know about
good,
that.
buddy.
No, that, Logs. You lead a little more active life than I do.
For those of you who haven't seen Chris Logan for a while, he's sitting here right next to me with a very gray mustache and a very gray goatee beard. Yep. He looks very distinguished.
He also brought the biggest entourage with him tonight. So.
Loudest, that's for sure. So we're gonna have one more trivia question related to the '88 season, and this is for anyone here listening. Which Siouxland Conference head coach, or maybe I should reword this. In 1988, who made their debut as a head coach in the Siouxland Conference? Not still coaching, but he made his debut 1988.
He's not still coaching?
Not still coaching. I'll give that one to you. He's not still coaching. No, not Ekoff.
That was his first year?
It was his first year as a head coach.
And he's not currently
Not currently coaching. I don't think anyone's going to get it, but if you really think hard.
Well, who was the schools in the conference?
Well, I'm not going to. Who were they in the conference?
That year.
Is it the coach from West Lyon?
No.
Nope.
No, he's still coaching.
He's still
coaching.
Oh, is he?
He didn't take over until 92.
So
or 3.
here are the Siouxland Conference teams back then. Central Lyon, obviously. Rock Valley, West Lyon, West Sioux, MOC, Sioux Center, Boyden Hull, George Little Rock.
Not currently.
Don't know any of those coaches.
Corey Brandt just retired. Does that count?
No, that does not count.
He came after that.
Corey was in diapers in '88.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson.
No, not Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy the Jet.
Related. I'll give you another hint. Related to CLGLR.
Oh, it's got to be the not Emmitsburg, Esterville coach.
No, not Esterville.
What's his
No.
name? The midgets.
Yeah, the midgets. Well, you're. I
I'm
think you're
hinting around
alluding
it.
to Boyden Hall. Who was Boynton Hall's
coach Boynton
coach?
Hall, George
Ken
Little Rock?
Roseberry.
Ken Roseberry.
Yeah.
Ken Roseberry, a future CLGLR coach, but
Gotcha.
Ken made his debut.
Gotcha.
Ken, if you're out there listening, how you doing, old buddy?
That's when it was Boyden Hall, George Little Rock.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was Boynton Hall, George Little Rock, yes. So, Ken, I didn't know that. I read that during the papers when I was reading up on the 88 season. I came upon that, so I thought that would be a good question.
And
Never
that
even
was
thought
very
about
close
that.
to the end of Boynton Hall, George Little Rock.
It
right.
was. It was. Okay, so moving on. One of the things we like to do is a Mount Rushmore. And this week we're going to go with centers. So our Mount Rushmore of centers. And again, this is just CLGLR centers. So this is the last 30 years. Since Coach Eben is not here, I'll go first so that you guys.
I get to go last.
Okay. Well, you go last like every time.
Excuse
so.
me,
Yeah,
Jeff.
the
Excuse me,
oldest
Jeff. CL
No.
or CLGLR?
Nope, this is
CLGLR.
CLGLR
Oh,
only.
I only got 3 faces on my Mount
Oh, okay.
Rushmore then.
Okay. Well,
Well,
you
you
can give
better
your,
get-
you
No,
can give your
you-
fourth.
You
can give
get
your
to
fourth.
thinking, dude.
Yeah, you got.
All right.
Okay, so
I
Coach
better not
Eben
go
helped-
first.
I called and talked to him a little bit today, and so combined effort, we're gonna go national.
What? You mean as in Coach Eben?
Yeah, and me. So it's
That's
not
kinda-
all me.
that's kinda cheating, but
well, he's
that's
not
okay.
here, and
That's okay. I'm the only one doing it the right way, but that's okay. That's
all right,
normal.
all right. So the first one on my list, our list, is gonna be Nash Knobloch. Then we're gonna go Corey DeBay. Then we're gonna go Lance Slumbum, and then finally Lyle Moore. Those are the 4 that Coach Eben and I came up with.
Okay.
All right, Coach Lorenzen, you're up.
All right.
That's pretty much where I was, but
I'll put Lyle Moore on there. Just
Okay.
graduated
Okay.
a few years ago. Then my 3. Lyle's a new addition to it. I had the old CL boy on the other one. The other ones are Nash Knobloch, Mike Reemsma, played in '96 team, and Corey DeBay.
okay.
Very good. Very good.
Well, we've had over the years, we were just talking about this, I was thinking a lot about, we've had a lot of one-year centers. Back in the day, not that long ago, but we repositioned a lot of guys
Oh, yeah.
from skill positions to center. And now we start, just a little FYI, when we start formulating our offensive line with the young ones, it starts at the center position. He's number 1 communicator, and communication up front nowadays is crazy compared to 88, for example.
Right, sure.
So communication, and they don't have to be real big, but they're all getting bigger nowadays, I guess. But they got to be pretty tough kids. But I start with Lance Slumbum. Lance was a reposition guy. I don't think Lance was very happy about it either when we first did it. I don't know if he's here or not tonight, but Lance played really good football in that 91 team and 90 and 91.
What was Lance before he went to center? Was he?
I think he was a running back, wasn't he?
Most of those guys are running backs, fullback type of guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we had,
Was he mean?
yeah, he was pretty
'Cause,
mean.
Lance I know wasn't.
No,
He's not very mean.
He's
just the nicest guy
He's
ever.
pretty well. You got to be able to turn it on the field, for heaven's sakes. Some guys are just flat out mean, you know.
Right.
So I start with Lance. I got Nash Knobloch as well, and for me, you know, I want to give a shout out to the 1988 center. That was a Central Lion team, but Jeff Spikesma was.
He was on my list. That was my
He
guy.
would have been there, you know, go farther back, but
Yeah.
with him, but that I can't count him. So I've got Nash, Lance, Corey DeBay, and Lyle Moore, and you know, I don't like to rank them, but of the CLGLR centers, I'm going to rank this one. Corey DeBay was the top of those kids back in that team. A couple years there.
Yep.
But
Logan,
we've had a lot of great ones.
Logan, you talk about mean. Corey DeBay was mean.
Was he?
when
He was
played,
mean, yeah,
He was mean. Yeah.
He was nasty.
And I think, you know, like you said, you talk about repositioning. I think probably Spikesman could probably play a lot of positions
Yeah.
too, besides
Yeah.
center too.
Yeah.
Same thing, same type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It would have been Heybo for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Heybo was our fullback.
Oh yeah.
So that's it. There
Would
we
like
are.
to play center, Heybo?
And I don't know. I don't even know what.
No, absolutely not.
I think Lance wanted to say no back in the day, but
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
we just needed him, and he did it. He did
Yep.
a great job.
Yep.
All right, so that's the Mount Rushmore. Usually very similar. So no surprise there tonight. So let's move on. So like we said, 1988. That's going to be the focus of this episode. So let's talk a little bit about that team overall. The team went 8-2 that year. Coming into the year, according to the paper, there were 14 returning letter winners. End up co-champs of the Siouxland Conference, and were quarterfinalists that year. Coaches, head coach obviously was Coach Dick Null. Assistants were Coach Schmidt, Coach Postma, Coach Renzen, and my dad, Coach Cruz. Not me, but my dad, Coach Cruz. I was 7 during this time. Talking with some of the guys here and talking this week, Toby and my dad didn't see very many of the games.
No.
Because they scouted, and it's not like it is now where I can go on Saturday morning, I can go watch every single game of every single team in the whole state of Iowa if I want to. Couldn't do that back in 1988.
Yeah, we weren't even doing filming. We were doing writing out formations with a pencil and paper and giving those to Coach Null when we got back that night too. Yeah.
Yeah, the old days, I guess, huh?
So it's come a long way since then, that's for sure. Yeah, before you get going, it is just too bad that we couldn't have the old man here himself.
Yeah,
we'd love to have Coach Null here.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. I would love to. God bless him. I'd love to have him here, but it would have made it the icing on the cake for him to have with you guys. He would have loved to have been here, sitting with you guys right now.
Many times when I visited with Coach Null on this particular team, this was a pretty special bunch for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk about a lot of those reasons. But one of the main reasons was this was the first playoff team that Central Lyon had after the championship teams of the 70s.
Yep.
So this was a really big deal for Coach Null and Coach Schmidt, and rightfully so. It really was. It was a big deal and a great team.
Yeah, we can talk later about some of the screw jobs Central Lyon had on some of those years early between 77 and 88 on not making the playoffs, but that's probably one of the reasons why they expanded and changed the way that teams
no doubt.
qualified for the playoffs. But so we'll start as we do each episode. We're going to go through the roster real quick and just recognize everyone that was on the team. So I'll just go down the list here. So Lyle Bauer, sophomore. Matt Sieperda, senior. Jason DeBoer, senior. Todd Vanderhoff, junior. Brian Grant, sophomore. Rick Vanderwoody, sophomore. Chris Klinkenberg, junior. Mike Vanderwoody, senior. Joe Murphy, senior. Dan Van Rokel, senior. Heath Huseman, sophomore. Heybo Julius, senior. Dwayne Mellema, junior. Fawn Fett Ziafan, sophomore. Mike Call, junior. David Altman, junior. Reed Quaker, sophomore. Chad Keel, junior. Jeff Spikesma, junior. Ted Brucker, sophomore. Craig Schneiderman, senior. Kurt Winter, senior. Rob Johnson, sophomore. Paul Berg, sophomore.
Bergie.
Chris Logan, senior. Brad Hint, senior. Andy Anderson, sophomore. Brant Lenz, senior. Steve Wells, sophomore. Dean Schubert, senior. Joe Surma, junior. Nate Schulte, junior. Rod Delph, sophomore. Wade Popke, sophomore. Matt Keegan, sophomore. Marius Larson, senior. David Riphagen, senior. Mark Henry, junior. Noel Wubina, sophomore. Sean Groen, junior. Mike Funk, senior. Jason Ellsworth, sophomore. Tim Reck, senior. Chuck Scott, sophomore. Todd Venegay, junior. Shane Boovey, sophomore. Travis Gathman, junior. Blake Gerhart, senior. Joel Botts, junior. Chad McDonald, sophomore. Chris Scott, junior. Brett Heitrader, sophomore. Jason Hillbrands, junior. Bobby Miller, sophomore. And Craig Metzger, junior.
A lot of studs. A lot of studs on that bunch.
Yeah, particularly the senior bunch.
I asked Jeff this morning, how many guys, I don't know if you guys looked at the roster, how many guys on that roster weighed 200 pounds or more?
Not many.
Take a guess, Coach Postma, without looking.
I would guess a half a dozen.
5 guys on the entire team. As compared to this year's Central Lyon George Little Rock team, there's 20 guys that weigh 200 pounds. Matt was one of the biggest guys on the team, and you weren't 200 pounds, though, were you?
190.
I don't think Blake was even 200 pounds.
Yeah,
I don't think.
according to this, he was.
Heybo, how much did you weigh, Heybo?
It says here 207.
I was at that time. I was probably maybe 175, 180. That's it.
Yep.
If I'm lucky.
What about Schulte? Nate Schulte and Henry.
Yeah,
Schulte is 172.
Yeah.
Well, according to this.
Heybo was at 177.
Let's see. Mark Henry was 200 flat, so
Yeah,
exactly 200.
Yep.
Chris Logan
So-
was 183 with one of the coach's toe on the scale.
I think so. We talked about that.
It's just crazy.
How much did I weigh?
Oh my gosh, where's Joe
Murph,
at?
probably about 120.
140
pounds.
something. 140 something.
145, Joe Murphy. 145.
You
might
and he
have
played
the toe on
linebacker.
the
Toe on that one too. What'd you wrestle at that year? A couple months later.
I 140.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
So you've
Yep.
been real close, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of studs. That's what I mean. There wasn't a lot of big dudes on that team, but there was
No.
a lot of tough dudes on that
Yeah.
team.
Yep. There were.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So another good number of guys to go through and talk about. It's one of the strengths. Obviously, when you have a good team, you usually have good numbers. And the same thing. We're looking at that roster there. Talk a little bit injuries. You guys can help fill me in here because I don't. Obviously, we were just going through from what was on the. I read through the newspaper articles. The only one mentioned Mike Call, I believe, broke his leg in
And
the
that
first
was,
game.
that was a pretty big injury at
It
that
was
time.
really big.
Mike was playing really good football as a linebacker.
Which Chris and I were talking about it earlier today, and I remember it because it was on a kickoff,
Okay.
and both Chris and I were on that kickoff. It wasn't a return; it was a kickoff.
Yep.
And going down the field, and I was near it. I wasn't involved with the tackle, but Chris was involved with the tackle, and everybody on the field, you heard.
Oh wow.
The break, and it was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it was a
That's
tough
bad.
deal.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember. Was Mike? Was he a senior that year?
He was a junior.
Okay. Was he just on special teams, or would he have figured
No,
in somewhere
I
on the?
thought he was a starting linebacker at the beginning of the year.
No,
Okay.
no,
or
he
was
wasn't.
vying for it, or maybe when.
He's a tough kid. He was
Oh, yeah.
solid.
Oh, yeah.
That
No,
boy
because it was Matt.
Yeah,
Matt
right.
and Blake were in the middle.
Yep.
And, but he was getting
On the depth, yeah.
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 he was there.
Because
Problem-
the first.
Go ahead.
I'm sure the first Sibley game. I'm sure you had
Yeah,
plenty of
right.
playing time
Yeah.
because.
Oh yeah, there you go.
You know
Yep.
we were.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were
And it was a garbage time kickoff. I mean, we were way ahead. And
right.
Gosh.
Yep. Yeah, it's always tough when a kid goes down like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
Any other? I don't know if there was any other injuries that
No.
guy you guys members of that year or not.
Nothing bad.
Like sprained ankles.
Yeah.
Didn't you? Now there's a couple games in the middle of the season. We'll talk about them. Or you weren't kicking. Did you have a sprained ankle or what was it?
I sprained my ankle in the MOC game. MOC had a 220-pound running back, just a huge guy. And I remember meeting him. Bam, I went backwards, and my ankle went. And the next game was Boyden Hall, and they were at that time the worst team in our conference. And I didn't practice
right.
all week, and coach said, "Are you ready to play?" And I said, "Yeah, well, I'm going to play." And we got ahead like 20-some to or 30 to nothing at half.
Yeah.
We're
And he
all
said,
out.
Yep. And he said, "You're not playing anymore." And,
Yeah.
But
So I
that
think
was
I think
only
Jason
time.
DeBoer was kicking for you. I thought I saw on the,
yeah,
the thing there.
he
yeah.
was kicking, and he was the
Yeah.
backup quarterback too.
Gotcha. That's right.
That's right.
Jason.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's we'll move on and talk about the starters a little bit now. We've talked to three different people and gotten three different versions of the starting line. So I'm just going to go with the starting tackles: Nate Schulte, David Riphagen, and Kurt Winter at some point.
Yeah.
Or
Chris
Logan.
Logan also
Logan
played
was
tackle, right? But he also played guard.
Nope.
No, I thought you told me you played guard too.
Nope. It's
No.
tackle.
Did I forget to change that? Nate
it was
just-
it was Nate and Chris at tackle.
Okay.
We made some changes off and on at guard
Okay.
with David and Kurt.
So then what we have is Chris obviously was not right, but I had him down as a guard along with Dean Schubert.
Yeah,
And
he
then-
played.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Spikesma and Craig Schneiderman both played center.
And
Which-
Spike ended up with
Right.
primarily after the first two games, I think, and that made Craig a whole bunch better defensive player as well.
So
that
now,
really helped us.
was it Riphagen or Winter that were the other guards?
I think
They-
they traded off.
Riphagen.
They kind of traded
Was it
off.
mostly Riphagen?
It was
I think it
mostly
seemed like
Riphagen.
Riphagen played more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mostly David, but Kurt got in. Dean was the regular guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah.
Blake
Yeah,
Gerhardt played tight end.
Yeah.
Mike Funk and Tim Reck played split ends. Dwayne Mellema and then Heybo Julius at fullback. Mike Vanderwoody, Dan Van Rokel at the tailback, halfback positions, and then Matt Sieperda at the quarterback. Did I get that all right from there on? Does that look good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
We were loaded in that backfield.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Man,
baby.
it was crazy.
Ooh, baby. That was and we talked about it. Chris and I talked about it a little earlier. Coming back, we didn't have much for linemen. No. It was a little bit of a scary deal, but they ended up doing a great job. But we were loaded in that backfield. We really were.
Who are the linemen the year before?
Pop Keys,
Pop
Gary.
Keys. Robbie Steinberg.
That also was a good team that
Yeah.
year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Who are the other ones?
I'd
They
have
were
to look
huge.
at the roster.
Yeah.
I remember coming out when I was a junior,
Yep.
coming out of those practices just beat
Yep.
and bruised.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were tough.
Went up against the two offensive linemen. You asked me who wants to go up against these guys, and
Yep.
no one
I
wanted
remember
to. I'm
that.
like, I'll get down there, and they put me about 8-9 yards back on my back.
But you did it, though.
I did it, yeah.
On the non-watered, no watering on the practice field either.
Did that team your junior year, did that team also tie for the conference championship?
We got
They
beat by
did.
West
Yeah.
Line.
And just one loss, but did not make a playoff.
Didn't make playoffs.
We got beat by Westline, right?
Very weird
I wasn't
deal.
there that year.
And
That was
then
the year before Toke
right,
came.
we were
yeah.
7-1 and did not make a playoff.
I think we only gave up
That was a good football
30 points
team.
the whole year
Yeah.
on defense, something like
It was
that.
tough. It was another one of them
Zeros.
controversial things, but we're not talking about that year.
So moving to this defense this year, because this year's defense was very good.
Phenomenal.
So the D-line, Heybo Julius, Mark Henry, Craig Schneiderman, and Chris Logan. Linebackers, Blake Gerhardt, Matt Sieperda. And then on the outside, Joe Murphy, Mike Vanderwoody. Dwayne Mellema, I believe, played a little bit at linebacker at times. Cornerbacks, David Altman, Chad Keel. And then the safety was Dan Van Rokel.
Yeah.
But as we were talking, we ran into so many teams that ran the ball. Dan Van Rokel ended up being that fifth linebacker almost the entire time.
Right.
Yeah, his position was always to rotate towards the run. He was definitely a run-first safety.
Yeah.
And our whole, the defense was designed to kind of do this
That was
rotation.
a good defensive team, boy.
So there's only two juniors on that starting defense.
Yeah.
And Tim played a lot. Tim Reck played a lot
Yeah.
in the secondary.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yep.
And then the specialties, kicker was Matt Sieperda, like we said, and then Jason DeBoer. Holder, Mike Vanderwoody, and punter, Matt Sieperda.
Yep.
Pump, pass, and kick boy. Didn't you just get some success when you were little doing that, didn't you?
I remember
ready.
Matt with
That
his
was,
Kansas
that
City
was-
outfit.
You got it,
I
man.
remember Dennison game, watching that tape when I did have it. You could hear the Dennison guys. There you go. Oh, the quarterback's the punter too. I remember hearing that. The
Oh,
Dennison
yeah.
guys it was crazy.
Yeah.
We can get into how good of a holder Mike Vanderwoody was in a little bit when we start going through some of these newspaper articles. But the managers that year were Craig Ross and Wade Warnches. And that kind of concludes our roster and starters segment here.
Even our managers were Studley.
Oh, yeah.
One's a judge now.
Just takes you
That's right.
takes you back so far. Holy smokes.
Who, Craig Roth?
Sorry, Your Honor, if you're listening out
He's
there,
close.
Wade.
Wade, yeah. I always have his card in my wallet.
Right on. In case I need it.
You talk about positions. 1988, where we would look at young kids and position them. Two positions. Well, back then, one position I was mainly concerned about was tight end, and Blake Gerhardt started a run of tight ends that year through 2008, where we had incredible tight ends. But that was a position that we paid attention to, and he was one of our bigger guys.
And he was mean.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
that's for sure. It's an understatement. But that was one of those positions where we started to really look at the right person to be at that tight end position.
Yep.
and starting in 1988. And now our H-back is very similar to that today yet, so it's interesting. But that's the year it started.
So we'll get into the games here. Lions opened up the season 1988 versus Sibley Ocheyedan. That was a 49-15 victory. I think I have on my paper it says at home, but I think in the newspaper it says we were actually away at Sibley. One of the things looking through the paper, the stats, it's kind of weird because I was telling these guys in school, the newspaper articles have changed so much.
Yeah.
Like there's no like little box score or anything yet. I mean, everything's written longhand, and some of the articles are like 3 paragraphs long. There's hardly any quotes from Coach Null.
Right.
Today, it's like the whole article is basically whatever the coach says after the game.
Yep.
But one of the stats here that I highlighted was Central Line had 20 first downs, Sibley Ocheyedan had 6, and then CL 423 yards of offense to just 144. And I'm going to guess most of those 144 came in the fourth quarter.
Matt, you had a big game that night. You had some, I think you threw the ball really well that night. We think we threw maybe 10 times a game, but it was pretty effective that game. And then also, I think, did you have a pick 6 in that game too? So it's kind of just things I remember as I was reading through that. It all started coming back as you start reading those articles too.
You can also notice in these articles, one thing I especially noticed with this bunch especially, that the penalties were always quite well penalized.
Yeah.
And to be very honest with you, that kind of depicted the meanness, the nastiness of this bunch of guys.
I'm guessing that tight end might have been involved with a few of those penalties, huh?
Probably.
Just a few.
Yeah. I think we averaged like 78 yards.
Yeah,
80 yards.
you're probably about right. And then nothing that as a coach, nothing you do not want to see that. But this was, we use the word mean, but I'll be honest with you. I think on the football field, aggressive is the word we really should be using, because that defense played aggressive.
Oh man, they were
very
nuts.
aggressive football.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying how none of us were. There were only 5 of us that were over 200 pounds, but we were to the ball.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Quick to the
Definitely.
Yep.
Athletic, very athletic bunch. I mean, geez, I got to coach track. I got to coach a lot of those guys in track, and we had some great athletes on the track in the spring,
Yep.
and obviously they could show it during the football season too.
Yeah.
Gets me in this game is Dwayne Mellema was the leading rusher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah. Just think of that. And he ended up being our 4th or 5th leading rusher.
Yeah.
Probably 5th at the end of the
Yep.
end of the deal. So think about that, guys. Holy smokes. We had horses back there.
Yep.
There's just no getting around it. There was speed and size and aggressive. It was fun. It was one of them deals, the old saying is where your offensive line can make the backfield look real good. This might have been a little bit on the flip side, especially early in the year as our line was progressing. But this bunch of skilled kids probably made the line look a little better than they
Yep.
were early in the year.
Yep.
That was one of the real progressions of the season, was the offensive line. That was probably the deal that really made us a good bunch come the Denison game and some of them. It was the offensive line's progression. It was fun.
And, you also look at the stats. Mark Henry had the elusive safety. Got on defense, got a safety. Don't see those out very often, so get that out of the way in the first game. So that was
Nice.
good to see. That's always good to see. But and then Henry and Heybo also led that game, and Mark Henry had 8 tackles and Heybo had 6. So then we go to
That's it?
That's it. Sorry, Heybo. You start looking. I don't know who kept stats for you guys back then, but I actually Coach Lorenzen kept all of Coach Knoll's stat books. And now Coach Eben has them all, and we have them in a filing cabinet. So I actually have all the handwritten stats that we can go back and look at.
Really?
It's really interesting to look at.
Wasn't it Dave Sieperda?
I think.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
he was
Dave
then,
did.
yeah.
Part of it.
Okay.
Dave Holstein probably was then too.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there are some games where, or most games actually, where there's multiple people with double-digit tackles, and one we'll get to as we go through the game or go through the stats here a little bit. You'll see them.
Yes.
But
Heybo, you have to remember you only played probably half the game though too.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
that's true.
But still,
You know, hey, well, nothing changes. I'm not gonna lie, nothing changes because on Mondays when we go through, when we come to have our team meeting, that's the first thing people talk about. Is that because we do the helmet stickers for different stats and whatnot, and every single Monday there's somebody arguing about why their stats are wrong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The age-old
never
story.
change. You know what?
Yep.
You know what, Heybo? When you look at your total rushing yards for the season, I would think we'd go through them tapes, and I tell you what, we should be able to find 3 more yards. I did not realize you were that close to 1,000 yards that year. That's quite a season, my
I didn't
man.
either. How close was I?
Do you really want to know?
I don't even want to. No,
Okay.
don't want to know.
We'll let you know later, probably.
It is in the stats at the end, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Once again, Heybo, you got to remember we had probably 3 or 4 games
Right.
that we blew people out too.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
oh, yeah.
like the
That's-
Sibley game, yeah.
That's true.
So you
Yep.
only played half the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of games that we played that first half, second half, we played hardly nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
So we'll move on now to the second game. The game at Rock Rapids lost to Rock Valley 18-13.
God, that's stupid
I think
game.
Les Hansen was still coach, wasn't he,
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Dick Null and Les Hansen had some classic games. This was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Went in their favor, but those two guys did a great job.
I don't know if you guys remember or not, Darwin Vanderhoff was playing for Rock
Yeah.
Valley, probably one of the best athletes ever to come out of the Siouxland Conference. I think he had a big
And he made a big play.
Had a big
we
play
talked
in that
about
game.
That.
Yeah. Yep.
It was probably the game-changing play that got the win for him.
Well, two plays.
A couple of them, yeah.
The kickoff, which all 3 of us missed tackles
Yeah.
Him?
on him. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Murph,
That-
you don't have to admit those things on air.
But
That's nice of you.
But I remember it's
Yeah,
still
you bet.
it's still ingrained
Yeah.
in my brain.
And it was
because
the play.
he literally, I went down to tackle him, and he just hurtled right
Yeah.
up like a deer.
Yeah.
Whoop.
That's how he was.
And Matt said the exact same thing. Matt was the kicker, kicked
I-
off, so he was the last guy.
I was the last guy to try to, and I went down and I just got air. He went over me and
Yeah.
He was studly.
we had just scored our touchdown, so we were in the lead.
Right.
If
right.
I would have just kicked it out of bounds, we would have probably won the game.
Yeah, probably.
Because if you look at the
Such a
total,
momentum
if
thing.
you look at the yardage, we outrushed them big time, and they passed because they had the younger Vanderhoof boy too,
Yep,
his brother.
Jason.
And
Right,
then
that's right.
They were, way taller than us, and they could jump. They could dunk the ball easily in basketball, and
both those guys went to Iowa State, right?
yeah,
For
they were
track?
both.
Jason, I think, went to USD and
Okay.
played football.
Okay, yeah.
And Darwin was a decathlete, really good decathlete at Iowa State.
Special. They were all-time Siouxland Conference dudes.
He's
that's
probably
for
one of the
sure.
best track kids ever in the state of Iowa, Darwin Vanderhoff, and one of the best athletes in Siouxland for sure. But yeah, I can imagine if there's somebody you're going to miss a whiff on, he'd probably be one that you would whiff on that.
Yeah,
It was awful.
I don't know if Joe said that Vanderhoof had the national record for high jump.
Yeah, he's over 7. He was 7'2", 7'3" high jumper in high school. Yeah.
Well, if you're a decathlete in college, you're obviously a good athlete.
You got that right. Yeah. But we are, that goes to show you. And Dewey, I don't know any more about before these guys, but that just shows you how every year it's always CL and Rock Valley. It's head to head. There's just so many good
that way
athletes on
today,
the field.
Yeah. And these are long time special rivalries, guys.
Yeah.
They really are.
From the time we were in 7th grade until we graduated, Rock Valley and us, they were the only team that would be either say we beat them in 7th grade, and then they would beat us in 8th grade.
Oh,
and
I gotcha.
In the conference.
Yeah.
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 They're the only they're the
Wow,
only
that's
ones that
crazy.
we ever
Yeah.
we were split with them pretty much down the line, and the one that probably counted the most, they beat us.
And all these years later, it's basically the same thing. Now they're in a different division, but we play them, and it's back and forth. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, their
Really
quarterback was good too.
Yeah.
Graven Good.
Yeah.
I think he was a good thrower and a
Some good
pitcher.
linebackers and defensive line was stellar too.
In the article, it says we had 4 fumbles. I'm not sure how many we may have lost, but that was obviously a factor.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, even if you don't lose them, it's still a big, tough play. You know?
Oh, yeah.
To their credit, I mean, got to give them credit. But it was a big loss for us at that point.
I remember the next Monday in practice, it was really somber, and I think you came up to me and said, "Hey, Logan, you're not on the kickoff team anymore." So it's probably a blessing.
Kids remember those things, coaches don't, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
You know, talking about the playoff qualifications, I don't believe Rock Valley actually made the playoffs.
They didn't. No.
They did 1A.
Were they 1A, not 2A?
They were 1A.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. I was. That's why I didn't see him. I was looking at the wrong class. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Logs.
So three Siouxland teams then would have made the playoffs.
They got beat the first round too.
Okay. Gotcha. You know, again, you look at the stats, it's very even stats. I mean, we did outrush them. I think they might have thrown for maybe just a few more yards, a little bit more yards, but, you know, almost the same first downs, just, very evenly matched game.
Yeah, it was
It's one of those things. So
You look at those stats, Heybo, you had 16 carries for 102 yards, and whenever I look at that stat, that tells me something. Tells me Heybo didn't get the ball enough.
Exactly.
That's about 6 yards a carry, buddy. You know, and
That's not enough.
Yeah, that's not enough, man. We got to get you the ball. But yeah, you know, Matt, you said it. The play of the game that really swung it to them was the kickoff return, no doubt.
Yep.
And it took a special guy to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
They scored with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, and then they came back, even after the kickoff return,
Yeah,
we were up 13-12.
Right.
Yeah.
But the momentum was so swung at that time, you know.
That touchdown pass, in my head, it had to be with just a few seconds left in the game, wasn't it?
No, it was with 3 minutes. We
Was
got the
it?
ball
There's
back,
3
but
minutes?
we couldn't do anything.
Okay.
It just says in the article late in the fourth
Yeah.
quarter.
yeah, that's the other thing, because normally when you'd look, like now, you'd look and you tell exactly how much time
Yeah,
was
you
left
tell.
on the clock on when they
Right.
scored. But you can't tell from some of these articles.
But
Yeah.
on that touchdown pass, what were you saying earlier?
Well, I remember the quarterback fumbled the ball. I believe it was Craig wrapped him up, Craig Schneiderman, and the quarterback somehow fumbled the ball, got back up, picked it up, and
chucked it.
And he chucked it up.
Oh,
and again,
my.
that Vanderhoff is so much taller.
Oh, yeah.
So
And-
athletic.
Yeah.
As an offensive lineman standing right next to him.
Yeah.
I was just going to say
Really?
the same thing. It's like, does anybody realize that the offensive lineman was standing right beside him?
Oh, the refs
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I think that's why we took it personal.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, we took it personal after that because it's like, no. They should never beat us at the game.
Yeah. No. And that's what it boils down to. And you know, as long as you guys felt that way, we were going to recover from that loss pretty well.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
And we did.
sometimes that is unfortunate, but it's fortunate, and that propels you into what you want to do the rest of the year.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
And you see that the result of the next
I was
game.
just going to say, if we, I mean, you talk about taking it personal. The next game was a win, a 26-0 win over at Sioux Center. And you want to talk about taking it personal. You take a look at the stats here. Central Lyon rushed 240 yards. That's good. I mean, it's probably not great. We all realize that. Defensively, they held Sioux Center to 14 yards of total rushing. 14.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, there was two things that stuck out. That and Heybo 181 on the ground.
Yep,
Those
181.
2 things.
23
Yep.
carries for 181, and
Yep.
then only allowed 5 first downs
Yeah.
to Sioux Center.
14 yards rushing.
5.
14 yards rushing in that day and age and that time, that is almost unheard of.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because that's
Oh,
all
yeah.
everybody did was work on their running game.
everybody
that's
ran
what
the
everybody
ball.
ran.
That's right.
For them to get 14, that is almost incredible stat when you read that.
No doubt.
And they threw the ball. They were 10 for 19 passing, so it's not like they probably had all these negative rushing yards on sacks either.
Yeah.
It was just not. I mean, we talked about trying to get the film and trying to get it uploaded so we can watch it, but I mean, I almost guarantee we go back and watch that film. It was just nothing going right up the middle.
Yep.
thing I remember about that game was we got to Sioux Center, and after a defeat, it was really somber the whole week of practice. Everybody's just, kind of shell-shocked yet, and look over at our stands. There's no one in the stands hardly, and we got it done. We kicked some butt that game.
Yeah, well, that's an understatement.
It's motivation.
Yep, and a big shutout. Big
That
shutout,
was.
boys. Doesn't get any better. And Heybo, we got you the ball a little bit more. 23 carries, 181 yards. Oh my, that's what.
I had a blast that game. That was fun. That was fun running.
That's what it's all about right there. All right.
So, like I said, 26-0 win. We follow that up. This was the next game. It was a win, obviously, another win at home. This one was against MOC, just MOC,
MOC,
Morris,
yeah.
Orange City, 27-14. Again, Heybo with another 116 yards on 30 carries, and then another dominant performance on offense, 401 yards of total offense to 110.
Yeah, and I think we that was where it was really starting to, and these guys talked about before we started talking, where it really started gelling as that three-headed monster in the backfield with those three running backs with Heybo and Mike and Dan, and then with Matt keeping it on when you'd fake to Heybo there. But I thought that's when the offense really started gelling in the backfield.
And you talk about Heybo getting all those carries. I mean, if you gave Mike a pitch to the outside or Dan to a pitch out to the outside or a counter for Mike or Dan, I mean, they were too.
Oh, yeah.
But if we needed 2 to 3 yards, we gave it to Heybo.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it
seemed like Mike, as the year went by, Mike got bigger and bigger plays throughout on offense.
Yeah. He was good.
Mike has some speed.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Very deceptive
if you,
speed.
If you gave Mike the ball on the outside, most likely it was 5, 6, 7 yards. He was gone.
Yep. It was very deceptively fast, wasn't he?
And he could catch the ball out of the backfield.
And his confidence grew.
Well, somebody
obviously,
must
every
have
game
caught
too.
the ball that night, because I believe I just read we had 135 yards passing, Matt.
Well.
That's not bad. What was it, 6 for 9? Boy,
That's a pretty good average right there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they scored their 14 points, but for us to run the ball like that and then throw it like that, man, that we're starting to come around as a team. That you can tell that just by reading that.
That's the game that.
Dang, I need to be at that bar. You guys are handing out beers like it's candy.
I forgot you have a camera on us. We can't see you.
That's the game. Actually, Mike Vanderhoff got kicked out of.
It
Really?
was? Really?
What do you do?
No, it was that. Was it that one? I thought he got kicked out of the West Lion one.
No, it was.
Was it MOC that he got kicked out of?
It was at home.
The-
we didn't like those guys. You know the reason.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
big time.
Can't say it on air, but you know the reason. We didn't like these dudes, and
That was the player was into the
in the post.
cable.
Yeah, remember they had the cables in the
Oh.
post.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did
Gotcha.
He
remember
got
that.
booted out of there.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
thought that was just a 15-yard penalty. I didn't realize it was.
Once again, we talked about those rivalries, guys. Oh, baby.
I guarantee right now, Coach Knoll's upstairs smiling about that one because he was smiling on the sidelines. What happened too? He didn't care.
Well, that cable should have never been that close to the field.
No way.
No, and it was there for years.
Yeah.
It's one of those, if you go and look at the field now and the arrangement and talk to our kids, they have no idea that there used to be a metal steel cable that would line the field on the sidelines with wooden posts that you could easily run people into.
Well, you'd
And
make a tackle out of
all the
bounds.
adult men would be at that
Oh, yeah.
cable, right?
All the armchair quarterbacks were lined up along that cable.
They're smoking cigarettes and
Oh,
beer
yeah.
on you. And,
I believe I had an older brother that smuggled a few beers in with him. Back. That don't happen nowadays, I promise you.
Did you see how many yards we were penalized?
Yeah.
105 yards.
Yeah.
Central Line almost had more yards of penalties than MOC had yards of offense.
I love it. I love it.
So,
It's really fun to laugh about now, but I promise you, that wasn't something that the coaching staff laughed about on the field or after the game. But Heybo, you
No, but as a player, we loved it.
yeah.
Loved it.
How about this, Heybo? 30 carries for 116 yards, baby.
Yeah.
We got you
I'll
the
take
ball. You gotta love it, don't you? That's
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
4 yards a carry, 30
Absolutely.
carries, man. God, I love that football.
Absolutely.
And you know what, old buddy? That offensive line was making her happen
Yeah.
about this time of the year.
So, I
wasn't
mean,
it?
the offense was just, I thought the offense was really gelling at that stage.
Yep. There's-
You know, the offensive line opened up, you know, being a fullback, the offensive line opened up some big holes
Yeah,
for me.
you bet. And they were
Huge.
mostly all the quick hitting stuff.
When I'm 5 yards down the field before I even make contact with anybody, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's what it's all about. Good quick hitting stuff.
Logan, get out of the camera.
So moving on, Game 5. This was homecoming at Central Iron, and one of the things that it's not obviously I didn't clip this article, but we don't do it anymore. But had the old homecoming parade, they all going through the papers and the old archives of the papers, seeing all the floats and everything out for the homecoming parade. But welcomed in Boyden Hall George Little Rock. I believe this is actually the first year it was actually Boyden Hall George Little Rock. I think before it was just Boyden Hall George. But Central Line came away with a 33-7 victory. Not a whole lot of stats besides just a lot of butt kicking.
I did see Tim Reck had a couple of interceptions in that game.
yeah, because I think the starters played the
Right.
first half. And,
Yep. One of those games where you got the business done and got out of the second half and kind of just hung out.
Boyden Hall threw the ball 15 times, completed 4, and we had 5 interceptions.
I hate to say it, but I think, and I've said it millions of times over the years, Dewey, for us, this team was getting to that point where when they got off the bus and they were on the road, we were on the road, we got off the bus, we were already up by 7 as we got off the bus.
There's no doubt about that.
When they were starting to feel that at that time of the year. Am I wrong, guys?
Yeah.
You starting to feel that way?
No, you're right.
And if this team would have played in today's world with the social media the way it is, they'd have been ahead 14-0.
Yep, you're right.
This was a tough, rough and tumble, tough bunch of dudes.
You
man.
guys were starting to get your swagger about that time of the season. Wouldn't you say, Heybo?
I would, because it's like it goes after that Rock Valley game. It's just like we all had a attitude that we should have never got beat. We did get beat.
Yep.
That's fine, but from here on out, enough's enough.
That's right.
You're right.
That's right. Can't say it any better, buddy.
Yeah, you're trying to, I was going through, and since I don't normally do this part of it, I'm usually just sitting here messing around with the volume dials and whatnot. But it was almost hard to highlight anything that had any spectacular stats because it was all just balanced, and tons of people got in the game. The leading tacklers, they're like five people with 5 tackles or something like that to lead the team. Heybo with the leading rusher, I think it said, but only 70-some yards on like 11 carries.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
These games were decided very early.
Well, did you see a total of 43 players from Central Line played in that game?
Yeah.
Wow.
43
I'm pretty
players.
sure there was barely over 50 on the roster, isn't there?
Yeah, I didn't count them up, but
Yeah, so it's pretty much clear,
almost everyone.
That's pretty much clearing out the sideline.
I
getting
guarantee it was
everybody
every
in.
junior and senior for sure, and probably the majority
Probably a lot
of
of
the sophomores.
Yep.
But
That's cool. Those are fun games. Those are fun. You wouldn't think
They
you'd
are.
remember those kind of games, but those are fun games to be involved with. You can kind of sit back and enjoy.
They usually don't stick. Like there's usually no one thing that sticks out at you when you have those games, but it's always nice to, especially when you're in. I'm sure you guys knew with the way that the playoff qualification went. Like you basically had to win out,
Right.
and then hope that it was good enough to make it. So having the pressure every single week of making sure you won, having games like this is nice and relaxing.
Yeah, like you
It's
said,
good to have.
our whole life watching all these years of Central Line football,
Yeah.
knowing that if you lose one game, odds are your season's done.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, you'll finish the year and you're just you're home.
It happened the year
and
before.
So we had this glimmer of hope. If we really go rolling and win out, there might be a chance to make it.
That's right.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I don't remember. Did Coach Knoll ever bring that up? Did he bring that up, or was it just a matter of factly just get to work every week?
I don't think
so. He never brought it up.
Not that I can recall.
I've never heard him bring that up. And what we had to do is just like every practice, every game is just like it was another practice, it was another game, it was another another Friday night, another Friday night, another Friday night. That's his mentality.
Yep.
That's what I would have guessed.
That's right.
And it's kind of you have to do it that way because you don't. You just have to take 1 week at a time and just go with it. But like I said, always good to have, especially on homecoming, to have a blowout, and I'm sure there was a good crowd. Obviously, usually there is. But moving on, Game 6. This game was at West Sioux, and another victory, 29-0. Again, 19 rushing yards.
That is just hilarious.
19.
And West Sioux, I think, finished like in the middle of the conference.
Did they really?
They weren't at the bottom.
No, they were not.
And they had an all-state running back, Van Meeteren.
I remember Van Meeteren.
Yep. So I mean, it wasn't like they were the.
You were just a dog kicking them. Yeah.
West Sioux actually tied West Lyon for third in the conference.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't.
They beat West Lyon, didn't they? Or
somebody had to have because.
Well, we beat them twice.
Right, but they had 2 losses in conference play, so it would have been us and
Rock Valley.
Well, then who did Rock Valley lose to?
No, I thought they beat Rock Valley.
Yeah, they.
I think they were the ones that helped us.
Yeah.
Okay.
But whatever. Yeah.
But don't look. Again,
2 touchdown passes, Matt Sieperda and Mike Vanderwoody that night. Huh?
A 57-yarder.
I wonder how far the ball went.
Yeah, it was probably.
That's what I was going to ask you.
It was probably one of those swing passes.
28 pass.
Swing pass, and Vanderwoody did all the rest.
Right.
That's right. It goes down the stat book the same. You either throw for 50 or you throw for 10 and they run.
So
for
what
50.
do we have for total yards that night? Because Heybo had a huge night that night too.
It was 287 on the ground and 86 passing. So
and Heybo had 177 on 25 carries.
I just can't stop laughing about 19 yards rushing. That is just unheard of defense.
To be honest, like even nowadays, like if we can hold someone to like 75 yards, I mean, even in
linebackers,
the last few years,
we got 2 linebackers sitting here.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. How was that happening?
Well, Coach Schmidt was a very good defensive-minded coach.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got to realize he had. I mean, you had Heybo on the end, and Heybo had some wheels, and then you had Craig on the other end. And Craig wasn't a big dude either. I don't know, like 160 pounds probably. And he was quick also.
Big motor.
Big motor. And then you had Henry, D tackle, and he was one of our biggest guys.
Yeah, he was.
And Chris was the other tackle. And Chris wasn't huge.
Chris was on the end.
Defensive end.
Oh, you were.
Okay,
so then Craig was in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had that, and then Blake and I were the linebackers. And then you had Vanderwoody on the outside and Joe on the outside, Murphy. And, I mean, it was just like, and Van Rokel, he was like a linebacker. Every time he saw a run, he was like up at the line of scrimmage.
There was no 2 steps back for Dan. It was
2 steps forward.
2 steps forward.
Yeah.
And
but we took it personal.
Right.
Because because that whole week of practice, all we heard about was Van Meeteren.
Yep.
Track started this. And we took it personal as a defense to make sure that he's not going anywhere. Yeah. And we made sure that he didn't go anywhere.
And you said it, Joe. Coach Schmidt had you guys exactly where you needed to be, didn't he?
Yeah. And you trusted your teammates, and it's like, I'm going to be in this gap. He's going to be in this gap. I'm not, You don't guess. It's like, I'm going to be here. I know Chris is going to be here. Somebody else is going to be here.
Discipline defense. That's
your responsibility.
Trademark. You will play with discipline or you will not play.
Right.
And the 2 that you don't hear a lot about were David Altman in the backfield and Chad Keel in the backfield.
Yep.
Because they stayed back there. They were the only two that were playing pass.
Right.
We were everybody
Yep.
else was run. So
Yep.
if they actually were able to pass, it was
A lot of guys on that defense. Even Logan could run pretty well.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Don't block him, Logan. Remember that when Vanderwoody's running for that touchdown on that pass. I'm right behind Vanderwoody, and on that film, like, oh, don't block him. Don't block him in the back.
This defense was tough. This defense was special.
They had a decent quarterback, too. Was that Borcher's kid, or?
I can't remember.
I think it was Brady Borcher's.
I can't remember.
I can't remember, but.
Yeah, I don't remember.
They had a good team. They were a decent team.
We made them look not so good,
Not
though.
so good.
You just gotta love it.
19 yards.
And here's a quote at the end of the article. A quote.
There we go.
Coach Dick Null reminds fans that the final home game is Friday night versus 3A Denison. This is a very important ball game, said Null. It was for a playoff, and Coach knew it. So he's imploring the fans to come out, and boy, did they ever.
So before we get to that game, how did we get hooked up with Denison?
Larry Gearhart.
Yeah.
Mr. Gearhart.
Principal.
Yeah, they needed a game. We needed a game. And, of course, he wanted us to beat them so bad. Yeah. It was his old school and that type of thing.
How did it end up we needed a game, though? Because somebody combined, or?
It was a late scheduled deal on that type of thing with the combined school. It was a schedule quirk, but it was a late deal.
Probably because we were short teams in the conference because George Little Rock was not by themselves anymore.
Yeah, that might be. But there
and
was
Sheldon
something
wasn't
strange.
there.
Sheldon was in the lake still. And,
Right.
Yeah.
But it was something that we needed, and it was late for both of us to get the schedule.
Did we only play Denison 1 year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that 1 year.
And then we played them again
and we picked them up.
1895.
We picked them up later.
One time.
When we were in 3A or whatever,
Yep.
How'd that go?
We got beat. Pretty well got handled.
Really?
But then we picked up Denison we played them in 98, too. First game of the year, so we must have picked them back up again.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I just remember
interested. I just remember that game. This 88 game was billed to be the big game. It meant a lot to Dick because it meant a lot to Larry.
It
so
did. It did.
When it meant a lot to Larry, then Dick was going to make sure he got it taken care of for
and
Larry.
this was not just a 3A Denison team. This was a very good 3A Denison team. Yeah.
And Blake went to Denison, so he knew.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He knew them all.
Blake came from Denison in our freshman year. He left there after his 8th grade year. And
and we knew a lot of them.
Yeah, we knew them all. We met them through Blake.
Met them
hanging out.
That's for another night.
That's for a different conversation.
Yeah,
right.
There's some good guys on that team.
That's after the show.
Well, let's introduce the game. So game 7, Central Lyon and Denison. That game was at home, and CL gets the 31-23 victory in double overtime. So it says, it's clash of two powerhouses is what the article starts out as.
I can't help you much on that. I was on the road scouting West Lyon that night.
All I know.
I texted Joe later today. I was just like, that was a game of the ages.
It was, yeah.
It was amazing game. How, it's just like the way it turned out is like amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mentioned it before we started, Heybo, that in my career here at Central Lyon and playing and coaching, it's easily a top 5 game in my memory bank, no doubt. And we've had a lot of incredible games, but this baby goes right to the top.
Yep.
Yeah, because we were down 14-0 at half.
Yep.
Down 20. It was 20-6 at the end of the third quarter too.
Which this is the first time we actually came across a team that actually threw the ball.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they did these little dump passes, and that's why I actually have more tackles because we were they were doing those outside passes.
Yeah, racing the sidelines.
Right. Oh, it was awful.
And they were moving the chains. They could move the ball.
Right.
They actually got 15 first downs versus our 12. But they were that kind of team. They could move the ball. And they were pretty good at what they did. And you read through the tackling stats. Where did I just see it? Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Leading tacklers. Julius with 15, Sieperda with 13, Vanderwoody with 12, Gerhardt and Schneiderman 11 each, Murphy and Van Roekel 9 each. So they held on to the football.
Yeah,
and
the
they
ball
pretty
the whole
much
game.
They handled us the first 3 quarters. Let's just call it like it is.
Big time.
Is this the game where Coach Knoll got the 2 penalties in a row, the sideline?
Yep.
And that's he. I don't even remember what happened. It was
mad.
And
Was it like a sideline warning or
it
or
was
personal foul?
Personal fouls.
Oh, okay.
Back to back.
Back to back. 30 yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
And I believe we were on offense.
They're both on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he get tossed?
No. But it started the wheel turning, and I don't know if he planned on doing it or what.
He was out on the field, and I had my arms around him, pulling him back from the refs.
I got you.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
He's as sly as a fox, that old dude. He had it. He was getting you guys revved up. I guarantee it, Joe.
And and next thing you know, the momentum switched.
It just
because
did.
Like at the beginning of the game, there's a combination. It was a passing team and the 3A team, and they just they just had us on our heels.
Yep.
And when Coach Knoll got flagged twice, it just something clicked, and it's like we gotta. It's like
That's awesome.
Slap in the face that we gotta start playing football.
That is awesome.
It's one of those deals. We talked about it last week, the Esterville game, the playoff game in 06. And this is how I can remember certain games, and this is one of them, where you look around the field and you see a packed house with fans, especially on our side, and the Friday night lights, the excitement of it all, it just doesn't get any better. I don't remember who it was, told me a few weeks later, lived way on the west side of town, in town, but on the west end of town. And it was a very quiet, beautiful night. Every time our crowd would roar, they could hear the crowd from where they were, virtually a mile away.
Yep.
Yeah. And and the crowd started to really carry us. I don't know if you guys felt that way, but I felt like that is what happened.
I kind of get the feeling, looking at you guys, listening to you on this one, that's that one game where you remember everything.
Yeah.
Like it was like it was last night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Especially you players.
Well, let's talk a little bit about it. So, obviously, going to overtime, you don't play very many games in overtime generally in a season. A double overtime is even rarer. But so it says here that Dennison scored on a 20-yard field goal, and then Matt, you kicked an 18-yard field goal. So what led up to our field goal? Did we, because a lot of times when you're second, you know what you have to do to win the game.
I think we got the ball at the 10, right?
Yep.
Yeah, those rows, we got the ball at the 10.
Yep.
We didn't move the ball. I don't know what we tried to do or not, but I just know that.
Remember on third down we did that crazy little pass and almost got intercepted.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. It was a roll out right, throw to the left, and it was a bad pass, but it.
Yeah.
Well, and one of those things too, where coaching-wise, like when you just need a field goal, you can keep it going. You always have that in your back pocket, right? Like you don't have to get too crazy because you want to win the game, obviously, but exactly like, hey, we can go to the next overtime.
Yeah, let's keep it.
But for us, a field goal was never.
I was going to say, how many field goals did you kick in your career? One?
I think it was 0, wasn't it?
I think that was probably the only one.
You might have kicked a couple when you were a freshman, sophomore. But
I remember when you kicked that, Matt. I'm on the line. It snapped. I don't even think it blocked anyone. I just looked up. And I see the ball go right through the center. I'm like, yeah. It was.
Well, the game was on the line. We don't get it, we lose. It's
that
over.
was.
And then you go into double overtime.
Yeah, we got the ball first then.
Right, and then you switch, and then your mentality switches too a little bit because you're like, we have to score a touchdown.
Yep.
Because you don't want to give the opposing team the chance to win it right then and there.
Exactly.
Who scored the winning touchdown, Heybo? You remember?
I think it was Joe.
No.
Was that the one time Joe got in off?
No. My hands in footballs, they don't work together.
Heybo scores on an 8-yard touchdown, and he gets the 2-pointer.
Yep.
That's our man.
It's interesting, too, to go for 2 when because now you're forcing the other team to go for 2 if they were able to score.
Yes.
Smart move.
That's a Coach Null
Smart
thing.
move from the head coach.
100%.
Smart move from the head coach to go for 2.
Yeah, you got their dauber down. Let's do it. Let's put the
Hey,
dagger in.
Heybo, you must be pretty special because Dewey always complained when he played fullback that he'd get the ball down the goal line to give it to Roach to score. but they let Heybo score when he gets down there, huh?
I guess Heybo, what it all boils down to is you were just a hell of a lot better than I was. I love it.
One thing I remember from this game is
I love that game.
Yeah.
That game was amazing.
Yeah.
How we did it, I don't know, because I can remember when we started to come back was when Matt punted and the guy from Denison fumbled on the punt. And Craig recovered it.
Okay.
Ran it back, but you can't.
Yeah.
Right.
And that all of a sudden the momentum started to change a little bit, and we scored and we can do this.
Oh yeah. Yep. And then the crowd comes into it.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
because
man.
the crowd left.
A
A lot of the crowd left.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
when the game was over, though, everybody rushed the field.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
everybody rushed the
Yeah.
field. And my sister, my older sister Dana, she came to me and I tore off my helmet and I hit her right in the nose. And
Broke your nose.
Yep.
I got tackled by Tim Reck's dad. He's laying on top of me, and I'm like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And it, being the wily old coach that he was, Coach Null knew that this was probably going to be the game to put us in the playoffs because it was a bigger school, and the score and all that stuff. However they figured it, but that's why he knew it was a big game.
Even the newspaper article talks about the game ended in a rush of excitement and cheers, probably alluding to the rushing of the field.
Yeah, it was
You gotta love it.
crazy. I remember after the game, I don't know how this happened or whatever. We had a chili feed up to the junior high
With
school.
Denison, right?
Yeah. That was part of the deal to get them to come and play us. We would feed them.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
And you
they
guys
had to,
ate with them.
Yeah. Up at the elementary.
yeah, it was very cordial.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah.
We
It
knew
was-
about.
it
I
was
suppose
cool.
everybody's pretty competitive of each other, but that's
and it
And
was
honestly,
a-
with Blake as a mediator
that's true.
between
Yeah.
us, because he knew all them and knew all of us.
I can
and-
see Blake as being a great mediator.
And there was no animosity out there. That was a hard-fought football game. Yeah. It was a good deal. But I do remember the feed afterwards.
I remember after that game, Dan Van Ronkel and I were walking home after the chili feed, and we dipped into the now Dick Null field. We sat on the 50-yard line, and we just sat there and we just talked about the game for about an hour.
That's awesome.
And it was a good moment. It's something I'll remember for the rest of my life. I mean,
That's a huge moment. That is
Yeah.
cool. That's cool because you don't hear about that a lot, that type of stuff.
you guys remember 1988? We had a big drought, and our field was just
Oh yeah, they used to bring the fire trucks out
Yep.
before the season started
Yep. Right.
and water.
like that
Yeah.
picture that Joe has of the end of the Denison game. It was just clumps of grass. The rest was dirt.
Yep.
It was horrible.
Yes, I remember that.
Some of the tackles you'd make is just a big dust bowl.
But you guys, like Tobe said, you guys going out there and sitting and talking, that tells it like it is, boy.
Yeah.
That's what this is all
In
about.
my eyes, that's CL football right there
Yeah.
when you talk about that type of stuff.
And there's maybe a few tears shed because we gave it all that game.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, you
was
guys, that's part of, we had the meal with them guys and everything. It was a hard-fought game, but I'll tell you what, we were just, all the players were coming off a 2 overtime game.
Yeah.
I don't think they had any extra fire in them to have any problems.
No.
when they
A
came
lot
in,
of respect.
when they
is what
came
it
in to
was.
eat, we were already there.
Yeah.
And we stood up
Yep.
cheered with them. We
Yep.
sat amongst them.
That's cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
It wasn't one side
Right.
Denison, one side
Yep.
Central Line. We sat by our Denison
Yep.
buddies
Mixed.
because we knew a lot of
Yep.
those guys, and
Cool.
they were, like I said, they were ranked. They were
Yeah.
good. They knocked them
They
out
were
of the
legit.
playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always a good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to sit down and eat after a game like that.
Yep.
But and then moving on to the last game of the regular season, game 8, only 8 games in the regular season back then. It was a win at West Lyon, 28-12, and the headline says both qualify for the playoffs. Kind of a weird way with West Lyon ended up having to have losing, and then they had to have 3 other teams lose, and they all lost, and then they got into a tie with South O'Brien, and then they won the tiebreaker. So I think that was the start of what I don't want to get into it, but
And it gave us a
Start of them doing
tie
that,
for the
happening to
conference.
them all the time.
hey, I have to deal with all of them still. So
Yeah. 5 things have to happen, they all do.
Had West Lyon ever been to the playoffs before?
no, that was their first
Yeah, that's
ever
right.
qualifying.
That's right. That was their first qualification.
Yep. You know, a couple other things to look at. First of all, leading tacklers, Craig Schneiderman, 18. Blake Gerhart, 15 tackles. David Altman had 2 pass interceptions. And then West Lyon had more passing yards than rushing yards. Maybe that was norm for him back then. It's definitely not the norm for him now.
Yeah, and you know who the quarterback was? Bud Ogilvie.
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah.
Yep.
And also, CL, 15 penalty yards. I think it might be one of the might have been the first game that
Amazing.
we won the penalty battle when it comes to penalties.
Yeah,
Big
they
win.
were
What the hell's
focused.
wrong with us?
We were focused.
Big
It was
win.
fun beating them because they beat us the last 2 years in a row, which was
Yep.
which was unheard of back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, always good to get the victory, especially that was at West Lyon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think, did we go back to West Line then?
Went right back to
Did
him.
right back.
5 days later.
Yep.
I thought it was
Yeah.
at home the next one. Was it there?
Yeah.
No, it was
No,
there.
It was there. That's what kind of
It was
surprised me a
Kind of
little
a
bit.
cold, snowy type of night that playoff.
Really
game.
windy.
Yep.
It was blowing out of the south about 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, I wasn't scouting. I was up on top of the press box that night. That was a little chilly.
And this was getting to be that time of year now where Julius had 87 yards on 15 carries, Van Rukel 73 yards on 12 carries, and I see Vanderwoody scored a 2-point conversion. So now we're using all the studs in the backfield, and it's a perfect time of year to be doing it, and a perfect team to be doing it against.
So why do we have so many 2-point conversions?
Well, I don't know if it was the snapper or the holder. But Mike,
Schneiderman was a good snapper.
then
It was there all the time.
Yeah, I think
Vanderwoody messed up so many of those
Little
dang
Butterfingers?
holds,
Hey.
which they didn't turn them into 2 points. I think
Hey,
he was trying
take off
to. He was
with
trying
that was
to.
the best part of it.
Oh yeah! Next thing you know, he'd be scrambling around and he'd end up in the end zone.
We loved it. We loved Woody, man.
Oh yeah, he was.
Mike was extremely skilled, but I can't see him being a ball guy, kind of like him.
No, me either. Toby.
That might be why there's so many
The
2-point
dude
conversions.
the dude could fly running.
Oh, yeah.
Joe, we tried to get him off for track. How many times we tried to get him off for track there, and we couldn't get him out. But
Yeah.
he was studly.
He was. I don't know if he ever really knew himself how good he was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I guess maybe he found out in the wrestling season, I guess. Huh?
You bet.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah.
Did Matt, you have a big night throwing that night against them?
Looks like it.
Yeah, we were 77 total yards, 3 for 6 throwing, so 3 completions for 77 yards. So what were they all power passes? Were they all?
Which
Were they do a lot of bootlegs?
Probably
back?
bootlegs.
What are you looking at?
Just the game 8 still, not the
Oh.
playoff game.
Oh,
Not
game
the-
8. Oh, okay. I thought you were on the playoff.
So we haven't moved the playoff yet. We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
If I remember right, bootlegs were Blake were
I mean,
bootlegs.
we ran them in '91 like to like perfection.
Yeah.
When I watching some of those films.
Yeah.
So
We only had a few that were down the field, and that was either to Tim Reck or Mike Funk.
Yeah.
And those were like flies. Other than that, we just had bootlegs to Blake. Anything we could get across the middle.
Yep.
And
Then
our-
Mike sneaking out of the
yeah,
backfield.
Just a wing pass out to most of the time it was Vanderwoody. I think Dan had some out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Well, they obviously work because your average is enviable.
And disregarding West Lyons' offensive stats, but we had 18 first downs, 285 yards rushing, and 77 yards passing. That is a good night for Central Lyon football.
Yeah, definitely.
And it comes back to what the offensive line is doing. One thing I come back to a little bit. You don't see a lot of statistics here where Blake Gerhardt caught many passes, but Blake Gerhardt was a part of that offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a very big part of that offensive line as a blocker.
Oh, yeah.
Very big part of it. No doubt, there's no question about it. Especially for your kind of stuff, Heybo.
Jeff, what was West Lyon's rushing stats that game?
West Lyon had 140. What did it say here? They had 119 rushing and 141 passing.
Gotcha. They had some good kids. I thought you guys did a good job against them. They were
a good
tough.
bunch, yeah.
They were a very stout bunch of studs too. I mean, a lot of studs.
Who was that big defensive lineman? He was a junior.
Vanderbosch.
No.
Bryce Tubal.
Tubal, yeah.
Tubal, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They had Tubal and Ranke, a couple of those guys at that time, and I remember that was a matchup that was going to be damn tough. I mean, and we just got after them.
Yeah.
And that led us into the next game, like you said, 5 days later or 4 days later, whatever it was. It was another one at West Lyon. The headline here, first of all, Lions win 46-8, first round playoffs. But the headline is Lions crush Wildcats to advance in playoffs. And one of the things I wrote down, West Lyon was actually up in the game. They led 8-0.
Yeah.
And after
scored
that,
right away.
46 straight points for the Lions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the most enjoyable games I can recall from a coaching standpoint. We put it together. We really did. And again, that Chad Keel pick six was a big deal.
I remember
just before halftime. It was a backbreaker. Yeah, it really was.
I remember walking out on the field after we warmed up and come out on the field, and how many West Lyon guys were booing us. And we
big crowd.
We hated each other.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
And they're letting us have it, and
yeah,
it was over after they scored. It was done.
Yeah.
It was a shellacking.
Yeah. What else can you say? I mean, look at the score, look at the result. But I really do believe when Chad picked six, I think it was over.
Yep.
It was a backbreaker.
Was there a long pass to Tim Reck in that game?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Remember right? Yeah.
Well, there had to have been long passes because Matt was 6 for 8 for 146 yards to 5 different receivers.
Yeah.
I think we got in a little trouble at halftime. We may or may not have taken some things off the wall in the bathrooms because we're all pumped up.
Oh, okay.
And
is that the reason why we don't go in the bathroom in the locker rooms anymore?
That was the reason during the whole season Brant Lenz did laps.
Was it?
You remember that, Murph?
I don't remember. I know Brant was more of a cheerleader than a player.
He got us pumped up. But
a little too enthusiastically sometimes.
Yeah, there's maybe a towel dispenser ripped off.
If I remember right, Brant was one of those guys you could talk him into doing a few things occasionally.
Was it wet that game? Was it rainy, wet?
It was kind of like a little snow. I think it was kind of windy and snowy, and if I remember right.
It was blowing out the south.
It said we fumbled the ball 5 times, and they fumbled 3 times, so I figured it had to be pretty wet.
Yeah.
Also Vanderwoody had a 53-yard fumble recovery in that game as well.
Wow.
That was in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was late in the game, but still, there's some big. Coach Null even says that the key was the ability to make some big plays.
Yeah.
And get that win, the big win.
There's not too many games that have been lopsided against West Lyon like that over the years. And that was definitely one of them. That turned into one of them real fast.
Right. Yeah.
So another little known fact is we always played better on the road than at home. junior, senior year, we lost 3 games, all at home.
Really?
Never lost a game on the road.
Really?
Wow.
That's crazy.
You know what? To this day, Chris, though, honestly, to this day, we do travel very well. We really do. We always get a good fan base, and we play good on the road. But I did not realize that.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Well, the 3 losses were West Lyon, right? The home game, our junior year.
Okay,
They were very good.
Yep.
And then Emmitsburg and Rock Valley.
Rock Valley.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
They were both at home.
Yeah, so that makes a difference,
3 dang
too.
good teams. Yeah.
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 But there is something to be said for getting on the bus and having a little bit of time to focus and then get off. And because I'm sure Coach Null didn't have you getting there a half an hour before you could get to take the field and just let you sit. And it was probably get on the bus, get to the field, get off, get about a few minutes, and then go start warming up and let's get going.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of pageantry going on there with Coach Null. You just went there and got your job done and got the hell out of there.
Yeah. Well, I think I said it at the beginning, guys. This was a. He would never say it, but I knew Coach Null well enough to say it. This was a big deal for him this season, and of course
Making it back.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a couple big wins at West Lyon, winning the conference, and a tough loss the next week. But that, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But this was a big deal for him in his career. It really was. It really, to me too, and a lot of people, it just really solidified just how good of a coach he really was.
Yep. God bless him.
Yeah, and moving into the last game of the year, the quarterfinal game, Emmitsburg here in Rock Rapids, it ended up being a 37-0 loss. But, it was only 10-0 at halftime.
Yeah, it was a little closer game, the final score. That's about all I'm going to say from the positive standpoint. It was a tough night against a tough team.
Yeah.
But they had a couple defensive scores, and they, like you said, Jeff, 10-0 at halftime. That's anybody's game. So, and they were real good.
They were
There's
good.
just no doubt about it.
That was the
bigger,
middle of
stronger,
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And
Quicker.
unfortunately,
They were quicker than us, too.
I don't know if they're quicker. They're just bigger, stronger.
Well, they ran the same quick huddle.
Yeah, they were fast up to the line.
Yeah. And I remember, Emmitsburg ran that for
Yeah.
decades.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that was what they did, and they were always good at it because they had a lot of practice.
And very intimidating.
Yes.
I was talking to, I don't know if I was talking to you, Dewey, or Jeff, about as a kid, you go to Emmitsburg, and you see their trophy case, or, and
Dwayne Twite.
everything.
Dwayne Twite,
Yeah, the football trophies, the wrestling trophies, everything.
It was a battle of 2 Hall of Fame football coaches out there.
Yeah.
And they just had a better team. Well, you just give them that. That's,
Right.
You got to.
Yeah.
They were runner-up.
Yeah.
Yes, they
They
were.
ended up runner-up, right? Yeah.
Yep. Another positive. Matt had 20 tackles that game, and Blake had 17.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And you know what kind of offense they run, so that was those are some crushing tackles you had to make too.
Yeah, I guarantee
'Cause
there
those dudes
were
had
some pads popping.
They had some speed build up before you hit them.
Yeah, their first touchdown, the fumble recovery, return for a touchdown. We were in the midst of a pretty tough battle, but that game that play took the air out of our sails, boy. It just did, and that's the way it goes.
Yep.
But talking about making the playoffs here in '88, did you guys feel like? So last week we talked in 06, talked about 06. The guys that were here talked about like winning and beating. They beat Emmitsburg, correct? In 06, beating them and then winning it, and just thinking like winning it just not for themselves, but for all those teams, those guys that came just a little bit short. Especially with having seen the guys go through the years before, might have a relative or whatever that went in the years before, where just that sense of like it's not just us that we're playing for. We're playing for those guys that got screwed out of this opportunity.
You guys were those little kids sitting in the stands in the dome when I was playing.
Exactly. We were old enough to watch all that.
I might have, this is crazy, and I remember it like it was yesterday. We got way ahead in that last game in '77, and me and several of the senior guys we're back there signing autographs and programs. It might have been you guys, and you were at that age.
I remember as a kid, Tom Roach. I'd be down at the swimming pool.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to have sisters, so that he would know who I was.
Just tell it like it is, Murph.
But
That's right. That's right.
They dressed Joe up in dresses.
But
what he's trying
he
to
was
say
an
out
idol.
there is
But
he
I
had
remember,
cute sisters.
and Matt, you remember, and Logan, you remember, idolizing these guys, and
your brother.
Yeah, well, yeah, and
Yeah.
honestly, watching all these other teams, like your cousin Scott, which they were good, never getting it.
Right.
We've seen the best,
yeah.
and we've seen a lot of teams get so close.
Pat and those guys were so good.
Yeah.
And, and then, brother, Dean and those guys, just a few years before you guys, just about getting there.
Right.
And then for you guys to take it to that next level.
That was key.
Yeah.
Even the 87 club, man.
Yeah.
They were way
right
better
there.
than us.
They were right there.
And they had an offensive line, and they were set too. Running back, quarterback.
Be
They're
honest
really
with you, Chris. I agree with what you just said. On paper, that was a better team because we had all you guys as juniors, plus them, especially them senior linemen, especially them guys.
But you go back to what we talked about last week too, that special chemistry that you guys had as a group together, all those years at junior high, all those friendships and everything, all those little things, you don't realize it. They take it over the edge. They get you that next level.
And go ahead, Chris.
Kind of reminds me of when I moved back in 2001. I had this. I'm not going to mention his name. He doesn't want me to mention his name. But you guys had a podcast a couple weeks ago, and he played center. Somebody had told me he had a big butt. He wears a blue sweatshirt. But I moved back in 2001. Seen him at the pool hall, and it's like, hey, Chris Logan, number 62. Joe Murphy. He texted me today. He goes, 62, 31, Heybo, 11, Sieperda, 24, Murphy. That's all he texted me. I'm like, he told me, he goes, yeah, you meant a lot to us.
Yep.
And I was 10 years older than him. And he played football with my brother. And I'm like, it set me back a little bit.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
It is.
And
it was the start of something.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and you know.
Yep. I along that line, when you're a Central Lyon football player, or as we say now, Central Lyon George Little Rock football player, it's sort of an automatic thing that you grow up with. And a quick example, it's been 5-6 years ago, probably Curtis's first year as coach, Curtis Eben. We didn't have a great team coming back, and we ended up having a struggle. Would have been his first year. I remember we went up to the camp up at SDSU, and Curtis asked me, he said, geez, Dwayne, how are we going to do up there? We just didn't. I said, oh, Curtis, don't worry about it. These are Central Lyon, George Little Rock kids, Central Lyon kids at that point, but CLGLR kids, our guys will do just fine. We go up there, and we don't back down to nobody. We didn't have a lot of talent, but our boys went out there, and they represented just exactly like I said they would, because that's CL football, CLGLR football.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're talking about. It's just kind of you grow up with it, it becomes kind of an automatic thing because of who you saw, who talks to you all week long. And now the fun part is we can come back and do stuff like this.
Right, yeah.
It's cool. It's really cool.
Well, and you guys in the 88 team really started something, because you talked from 88 until 08, those 20 seasons.
Wow.
I don't know how many years we didn't make the playoffs. It'd be easier to figure out the years that, and multiple state championship games, multiple, all-staters. Your guys' senior year, I was only 7, but then in 91, that year, my dad was still on staff, and so I was one of the ball boys. And those guys, the little kids, it's just when you play small town football, you idolize those guys, and you just look up to them the whole time, and that's your world right there.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to someone, or our high school principal, and his kid wanted football gloves, and he got football gloves because they play football now every single day out for recess. in the middle of the winter
It's
time.
all part of it. That's all part of the deal.
And so, the moments of like sitting down at the 50-yard line and talking and or having people look up to you and or come up and talk to you when I'm sure you guys did things that the little kids would have interacted with you and those sorts of things. That's what it's all about, and that's that's why you do it.
This season really brought that back. So thank you guys.
Yeah,
thank
definitely.
you.
Well, for us, it was a lot of we weren't the biggest team out there that we played, but it was our attitude that we loved.
Yeah.
We all knew each other. We all hung out together, and the attitude that we had was like, no, this is not going to happen.
Yep.
It's just the attitude that we had, and that Central Line carries throughout the whole program from here on out. It's just like the attitude when you know each other and you embrace each other. Like all we did. I mean, all of us hung out together.
We're all brothers.
And so it's like the attitude that we had was like, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's just like with the Rock Valley game when we lost, it's like we all looked at each other. It's like, not going to happen again.
Yep.
And it didn't, because it's like, no, we're not, this is our attitude. This is what we believe. This is everything that we stand behind, and it was just like, that's just the bottom line. Is it's like when you have brothers that can stay together, it's amazing what you can accomplish, and we did.
Yeah.
And Heybo, we hated losing. Since we started.
Crap, we hated. I was about ready to say the F word. We hated losing.
We hated losing, and it goes back to 7th grade track.
Yeah.
We never lost a track meet. 7th and 8th grade.
So what makes what makes you
And
hate to lose? What about you? Just the way you're brought up?
We hated to lose because we're all competitive, and if you look back at from the time that we started playing our 8th grade, 9th grade, freshman year,
Dewey Perret,
that we really our grade never lost to West Lyon.
Never.
Why? Because we hated West Lyon. And we never lost to them. Our grade never lost to our same grade at West Lyon because we hated to lose.
Yep.
From Matt to Chris to Joe to Mike to Brant to everybody, we hated to lose.
And
we
honestly,
never
guys,
did.
that is what it's all about.
It
right
is.
there.
It is.
Yeah, we hated it. We hated it.
Speaking of that, Heybo, we talk about that a lot, even right now. Like there's a want to win, but it's almost better to have guys that hate to lose.
Yeah.
I want to win. Everybody wants to win, but you gotta have the drive to not to lose.
Yep.
And in the summers
and when you do that, this is like I said, we hated our biggest thing. It wasn't MOC. It wasn't West Sioux. It was West Lyon. There's no way we're going to lose to these guys. Now, if we played as our freshmen, if we played, our sophomore year, and they lost, we didn't lose.
Right.
They lost. Now, our sophomore year, we still beat you. If we played as your junior and you lost as your senior year, and we won, we still didn't lose. We never lost to the class that was the same as us as West Lyon because we hated them so bad. But we hated to lose.
Yeah.
I think I remember.
And we all loved it.
I think in 7th grade, that was our first game. In 7th grade, we went over, played in West Lyon Field. Wasn't it like 50-something or nothing? It was horrible.
Yeah.
So you're saying that knocking West Lyon out of the playoff, their first ever playoff game by a 46-8 score was satisfying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a way to finish all that hatred you had against them for that last game, the way it ended up. You guys got that for the rest of your lives.
And I think I'm not.
Especially when we beat them, and we found out that they made it into the playoffs. We're like, oh hell no.
So Coach Postma, you don't know about this, but not going to say names, but he lives in town. When we beat West Lyon, I mean, they were mad because the bus was parked right behind their.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody may or may not have slipped a 6-pack of beer in the back of the bus.
Of whose bus?
Ours.
Our bus?
Yeah. We had a celebratory beer, but it doesn't happen like this. Kids don't drink.
Statute of limitations. So you're good.
Very good.
Well, that's one thing. That's one thing. You guys were. I'm going to use my one of my favorite words. You guys, a lot of you guys, not all of you, but a lot of you guys were a little on the naughty side.
Oh yeah.
But
that is one of his favorite words. I'm not gonna lie to you.
But I do want to say this in front of the whole world that. And I know Coach Null would 100% agree with me here right now if he was here. Coach Schmidt, well, we can ask him, next week or a couple weeks?
2 weeks we'll have Coach Schmidt on, yeah.
Right on.
But when you guys took that practice field, we never had problems with you guys as far as what our expectations were. Well, you were there,
First
Told.
class.
You were around them.
First class.
Yeah.
Every time we walked on that football
Never
field,
had
first
a
class
problem.
with you guys out
Never,
there.
ever. Was there ever anything disrespectful toward a coach?
No.
Never a lazy bone. Always pick up your teammates to push them a little harder. I'm really proud of you all for that.
One thing I've always been so appreciative of being involved with Central Lyon and Central Lyon Joe's Little Rock is from this year that I came, how much fun it was to go out and be on that practice field with these kind of guys every day. It was like I could have paid them to do it instead of they paid me to do it. It's just so much fun because so much talent, but not just talent, so much cohesiveness and so much drive out of every kid in a different way. It's just what made it huge for us. And it started with these guys right here.
You were saying that it's just like that we might have been on the naughty side. Absolutely we were. There's no doubt about it.
We just didn't get
But
caught.
we were all friends. We were all family. We all looked out. We had each other's back throughout our whole, coming through kindergarten all the way through our senior year. All of us guys had each other's back no matter what we did, especially our senior year, junior year, sophomore year, freshman year, whatever. We had each other's back, and that's what made us that good.
And family.
Go ahead, Matt.
And family.
Yep.
We were, from Mike to Matt to Joe to Brant to everybody.
Dan Vanderhoff.
This is like, yes,
Yeah.
we were all, we're on air, so we were all good. But it was just like we were all cohesive. We were all one unit. We had each other's backs the whole time. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, what I was going to say is with both Dwayne and Toby, Toby was in that weight room with us, and he was challenging us to lift as much as he was lifting.
Yeah.
And every time he was there every day pushing us, and then he would run. He'd be like, okay, you guys want to run against me?
Told you I wasn't much older than you guys.
Dwayne was there.
I was tickled to have Tobe come on our staff because in my early years, would have been my 5th year. When we lifted in that storage room right next to the cot.
It's way better than
we had that universal
boiler room or whatever.
But I
the
could
hell
go
it
in
was.
there and lift with you guys. But when Tobe came, he kind of took that over because he was the younger and the running part. All of what you just said, Matt. You're right.
He could run. He could throw. He could lift.
He could lift.
That weight room that we had back in the day I heard it's way better than what they have now.
Okay, Chris, here you go. Okay, the weight room we have now is 6,000 square feet. Guess how many square feet your weight room was?
About 100.
200 square feet.
Yeah.
6,000.
It's like Rocky when he trained in Russia.
Yeah, exactly.
I just talked to R.J. Meyer last night, reminiscing a little bit. You all know who he is. And he was commenting on the same thing. And you know what? He made a very good comment. It It isn't about the facility itself.
Exactly.
It's about what you do with it.
I was going to say next.
Yeah.
These
And
guys
I hope
work-
some of our kids
Our-
today are
the,
listening.
The,
to
the
that.
facility was so good, it was like you could walk out the double door and you're in a cafeteria.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go to the concession stand, get a bag of popcorn.
These dudes, these
Yep.
dudes, even though Lefton wasn't big, these dudes, they got it. They
Yeah.
got it for the
Yeah.
most part when they were there. For the little bit we had, they got it. They got it big.
So just remember this, boys. When we lift the biggest trophy up in that dome, it's for all of you guys, starting especially in that 1988 team, kind of bringing everything back to prominence. Because from that point on, for 20 years, we had incredible teams.
Yep.
We got
Yep.
one big trophy
Yes.
up, but when we get the next one up,
Yep.
you take a bow because it's for you as much as anybody else.
Thank you.
So thank you guys.
Well, we're one family.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're at Central Lion, you graduate there, it's
Yep.
one huge family, no
Right.
matter who you are.
Even when you're living in
That's all it is.
Arizona, right, Heybo?
Absolutely. And I struggle with the air temp down here because it's kind of chill. It was kind of chilly this morning.
About what? About 60, 62?
Hey, Jeff.
It was 65 at like 7:00 this
Yeah.
morning. Then it hit 72 about 9:30.
I don't know how much time you have, Jeff, but I got a couple things I want to.
Oh, we got all the
Okay.
time in the world.
Couple things from then. I want to jog you guys' memory back to then. Back in your days, two-a-days were really two-a-days.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Morning and night. Hell
Hate
week.
two-a-days.
Hell week.
Hated them.
Hell week
Hated
was
them.
actually hell in
Yeah.
that week when
Plus,
you guys
it
played.
was during a drought. It was like 108 degrees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Practice field.
You're,
Jeff-
you're playing
hard.
on you're
Concrete.
practicing on concrete.
Exactly. Practice fields were little. Remember, it was behind the visitors' bleachers,
Yeah.
and then up on that lower one. And then towards the end of the year, we'd get sneak up onto the baseball practice field, or baseball fields, and practice a little bit too on that.
Yeah.
Good
Trying to
point.
think.
Very good point.
Hey, we always wore pads and hit Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
I was going to say,
Yep.
my next thing was, you talk about physical
Good
practices.
point, Matt. Good point.
There was you talk about physical practices. It was balls out every night.
We
basically.
played football every night, boy.
Every night. I mean, you put full pads on and you hit all night, didn't you? You remember that? Those days?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
There's no touch football.
Yeah. I don't remember. Your pregame, your guys' pregame was in the Commons, the old Commons, I
Yep.
believe, right there. There was no music before the game. It was just going out and getting ready to go.
Yeah.
So things have changed. It was pretty cut and dried back then.
We got taped up. We got,
Oh,
we
yeah.
got our
Oh,
wrists
yeah.
and our
Yep.
forearms taped up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I bet I can tell you guys I bet I can ask you guys right now that anytime you walk into a football game on a high school football game on a Friday night, whether you're here or Heybo if you're in Arizona, where you don't get that feel for what it felt like when you put the pads on the last time, don't you?
Something about those Friday night lights, boys,
Yep.
isn't there?
There is.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was always Thursdays were great, but then all of a sudden Fridays rolled around, and once that school bell rang, it's like, oh yeah, we're getting ready to roll.
Game day,
You
baby.
got that right.
Yeah, getting ready to roll.
So I kind of feel like you're insinuating that maybe the current generation might be a little softer than a little more pampered.
We don't know if they tackle as well as what.
Oh, I guarantee they don't tackle as well. I'll tell you that right now.
Matt and I have had that discussion a few
Yeah,
times.
we had, on the team, we had a lot of people that wrestled too,
Yeah.
and they were
Oh, yeah.
good tacklers.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
a good
and
point.
That's one of the things that probably made us kind of
Yeah.
mean too. The ones that.
Well, Joe, I'm sure you'd say it too. If you didn't tackle good, you didn't play for Schmitty, did you?
No.
No. You were in the right place and you made the tackle,
Right.
or you didn't play.
Yeah.
That's like,
It's that simple.
Coach, last week, Coach even talking about, our current Coach Lupkus, Mitch Lupkus, who coaches DBs for us now. Coach Schmidt would go out there and move him like 6 inches and tell him, okay, now you're in the right spot. Like, he wasn't in the right spot before he started the play, but he moved him 6 inches. Now he's in the right spot.
That was probably happening in 1988.
Oh, yeah.
just the level of detail that
Coach Schmidt
always had.
I don't even remember what game it was, but we had a left-handed quarterback.
Yep.
And so he decided to flip our whole defense. because
right.
So Heybo and Mike, they were better athletes than Logan and I, and we were on the a little bit. So we were on the I guess it'd be on the quarterback's weak side.
I think it was center, wasn't it?
I don't remember, but he's
I think it was
like,
the center.
we're gonna put the strength of the defense. At least you guys stayed in the same spot, but the line got all flip flopped around, and I remember he thought it was the greatest idea in the world. All of us guys were like, how the heck are we gonna pull this off? And I remember Smitty kept coming to me because I was a pretty decent student back then.
Yeah,
and he's like, Murph,
Back then or always?
well, whatever. But he's like, Murph, why can't you figure this out?
That sounds just like him.
It's like, because I've been training all year. And now you're trying to. And then Woody would be like, hey, during the game, he'd be like, so Murph, what am I supposed to do?
That was what I was talking to you earlier, Postma, about when I talked to corrected Coach Schmidt. That was when he flipped the defense, and he was backwards, and I'm like, Coach Schmidt,
he corrected him.
Yep, and I this isn't right. And he looked at me, and I'm like, got all wide-eyed and scared.
He was pretty nervous.
And he goes, well, Logan, you're the smartest lineman I ever coached in my life. He turned around and walked away.
And you're going, oh, baby.
I was.
So, great. Matt, I got to know, too.
We just back then, we loved defense was our forte. We loved to hit.
Yes.
I'm going to lay you out. I'm going to stop you. There's nothing that, if you have a star running back, you have a star wide receiver, you have a star quarterback, we're going to focus on you, and we're going to hit you. We're going to hurt you. And by the end of the game, it's just like you might have scored 3 points, but you knew that you played against us. Because it's like everybody from Dan to Joe to Chris to Mike to Matt, we loved to make sure that you were not going to make any progress against us, and we're going to hit you. And by the time the game's over, you're going to be like, holy crap. What the hell just hit us?
So Matt, was there any funny stories, or tell us about lining up next to Blake Gearhart every night at linebacker?
Blake.
Because a lot of our young guys, you guys, they don't know what Blake Gearhart was all about. I mean, our linebacker, we've had unbelievable linebackers, but Blake seemed like an adult out there playing compared to other people. So what do you got, Matt? Anything for us on that?
Blake was very good, but he wasn't the what do I want to say? Sometimes he didn't know exactly what the play was or were, but he would go and hit someone.
Yep.
That was the thing with Blake, is he liked to hit someone. The same way offense or defense, he liked to hit. But I would say, just knowing what your assignment was or where you're supposed to go might not have been the best at that.
No, absolutely not. He sucked at it.
But even if
he could hit someone.
Yeah.
So if you make someone like a pile up or hit a few people, you might throw the play off a little bit too.
Sure. Yeah.
So he did do a lot of that. I mean, if you look, he probably didn't have. I mean, you're looking at the tackles. If you were looking at the tackles, he might not have had his name a lot of them, but he was hitting someone every time.
Right. Right.
Yep.
And that takes its toll big time. Yep.
So
that's a good way to describe it.
He was. He wasn't the fastest. I mean, out of our guys, we had some pretty quick guys.
Oh, yeah.
But
we were extremely fast.
Right,
Yeah.
but he liked to hit.
Football doesn't have to be a complicated game, guys. And this is a classic example. Blake was the kind of guy, and I talk to this a lot of times with offensive linemen, it's a game of 11 against 11. Even if you're doing it wrong, take one out to keep it 10 against 10.
Yep.
At least And it sounds like Blake did that at the very least. Yeah.
Right.
Just
and
some unique,
nasty ways too.
Just
man.
some unique things going on that team. You know, Heybo playing D end. We've never had a lot of running backs that have played D end over the years. So
that's right.
You know, that's a hats off to you, Heybo, that you could do that.
That's right.
I loved playing that position. Absolutely loved it. I mean, it was balls out to the quarterback, dang near every play.
That's crazy though.
Loved it.
Yeah, it is. It's just, That's impressive because I can go back and I coached head coach for 22 years and I can't remember a running back that played anything but linebacker and DB.
Yep.
So it's impressive that you're physical enough to play at that position like that.
Yep.
You know, you guys have.
Well, Dick Null told me one time. It was our senior year. We were in practice, and it was the same time that the TV station came to interview all of us from Sioux Center, I think it was.
Sioux City.
We had an interview.
Yeah.
Sioux City.
Yeah, they always
Sioux City,
can.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, it was preseason.
And Dick Null told me he pulled me aside after that interview, and he even told me, he goes, if you ever got an attitude, he goes, you'd be dangerous. And I remember that the whole time because I remember from my teammates the attitude that they had.
Yep.
From everybody. It's just like, oh. I've always held Dick Null in high praise for all my years of playing at Central Line. It's just like the guy knows how to coach.
Without a
but
doubt.
it's just like you go back to with Blake. There's two guys that jump out to me that had an attitude that was like none other. Blake was number one. Mike was number two.
I totally agree.
Mike didn't care.
Nasty.
Mike flew everywhere.
Blake had
if it was a late hit, didn't care.
Blake had
if
that
he
swagger,
hurt you, he was. Mike was awesome. If you got up and you're like, oh shit, and he got a flag, Mike was happy with it.
But yeah, Mike
Because
was
he knew
doing
that
it.
the next,
Mike was doing it for like the fun of it, you know.
Yeah.
He just
big time.
Everything was all
Yeah.
fun. He's just Mike's just a happy especially when he was young. He was like all about.
Yeah.
I remember even like playing basketball or whatever. Anything was just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like
if
his
Ben,
dad.
If Ben would have hit you 5 yards out of bounds, he'd get up laughing and get a 15-yard penalty. He's fine with it. This is like that was our attitude though that whole year. Is like, yeah, that's why when you look at those stats, it's just like, well, they only had 20 yards rushing, or they had negative this, whatever. That's because our attitude was like that.
Yeah.
I would like to
It was
see
like, didn't care.
Yep.
I'd like to see our stats if they were real time now these days. Tackles.
They'd
go back and
they'd be pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's what's
back then
really
you
cool
didn't
about
have
this
the-
team. That it's that long ago, but everything, all those stats that we were going through tonight are so special and relevant to today.
Right.
Especially the rushing and the tackles.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the stats here before we wrap things up. But so, just a little recap on the season for everyone. But so the team offensively, the team rushed for 2,294 yards. Heybo had 186 attempts for 990 yards, 5.2.
10 more yards,
10
buddy.
more yards.
Oh, dang it! I didn't realize
You
that.
told me you weren't going to tell me.
So
Well, it was
Dwayne
Jeff.
said that. Sorry,
It was
sorry,
Jeff.
Heybo.
I didn't say that.
5.2 yards per average.
I was only that many yards away from 1,000.
10
Apparently.
yards.
10 yards.
I'll go back to the stat book and re-add them up for you.
Yeah, you might have a little bit of eligibility.
I doubt it.
Dan Marocco had 83 attempts for 379 yards, 4.6 yards per rush. Mike Vanderwoody had 52 attempts for 375 yards, a 7.2 average. The team had 40 receptions for 771 yards. Blake Gerhardt, 13 receptions for 240.
Those are good numbers.
Yeah, 18.5 average. Mike Vanderwoody had 9 receptions for 164 yards, 18.2 average. like I said earlier, enviable stats from the quarterback from Matt, because I would kill for our kids.
Yeah, you got that right.
That right now or ever. I mean, that'd be great. The team averaged 306.9 yards of offense per game and 28.2 points per game. The defense gave up a total of 133 points, or 13.3 per game. We were led in tackles by Matt Sieperda with 85, Craig Schneiderman with 80, and Blake Gerhardt with 79. David Altman led the team in interceptions with 6.
Beer Wolf.
Wow.
All conference players.
I didn't know he had that many.
Yeah. All conference players. And again, I didn't know this until I did a little research, but Coach Null only put up seniors for all conference. And so we ended up with 6 first team, and then so we had first team offense, Blake Gerhardt, split end, Matt Sieperda, quarterback, Heybo Julius, running back. First team defense, Craig Schneiderman, D-line, Mike Vanderwoody, linebacker, Dan Van Roekel, defensive back, and Ambro mentioned was Chris Logan.
And that was, I can tell you, after taking over shortly after that, you'd go to those all-conference meetings. It was Sioux County versus Lyon County, and it was tough to get kids on that. So that's pretty impressive to have that many kids on the all-conference
we got
team.
screwed on that
I remember
Yeah.
you brought me aside and said, I fought for you to get on.
Oh, yeah.
Was only so.
Yeah.
This is
Yep.
exactly what Coach said.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, Jeff.
No,
but
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
get that on.
Still kind of that way.
All state players, Blake Gerhardt was first team Iowa Newspaper Association and second team Des Moines Register at linebacker. School records. These are. I couldn't find any. I have the stat book, so I actually have the end of the year stat book. So Coach Null must have been. Central Lyon's always been on the cutting edge of technology. I can say that as a tech admin right now. But even in '88, Coach Null had a printout, which I have.
Yep.
It's got a border. It's the old print shop border.
Yeah.
You know, he had that. Didn't put it in any order. So going through and
I
looking
like to think it's who he liked the best.
I believe it. I believe it was.
Because I was the third person on the list.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I was telling Joe last weekend, like, I thought Joe was third in tackles because he was third on the list. No. But so anyway, school records. So Heybo was 6th on the career rushing list with 1,459 yards. Blake Gerhardt was 3rd on the career receiving yards list with 328, and 3rd on the career pass receptions with 19. Matt Sieperda was 5th on the career pass receptions list with 14. 8th on the career pass completions list with 38.
That's unique.
And 7th on the career passing yards with 752. And Dave Altman was tied for 2nd on the career interceptions list with 6.
You didn't play quarterback as a junior?
I was DN and tight end.
Tight end, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah,
so
you and Blake
Yep.
split time,
Hey,
right,
Matt,
on tight end?
Who
So
was
you
the
talk-
quarterback?
Who was
your
quarterback?
junior?
Kelderman.
Kelderman.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Justin
that's
Kelderman.
right.
Justin
Justin Kelderman,
Justin
that's
Kelderman.
That's right.
Hey, but you were the
That's
fullback
unique being
then,
on
weren't you,
both.
junior year?
So
I was.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, and I was right behind what the hell, Brett
Hoosman.
Hoosman.
Yeah.
Brett Hoosman, yes.
Yep.
Yep.
So I was talking. I didn't have time to go back and look, but I was just obviously figuring that Matt must have played a little either split end or tight end bit with having on that.
That's
That's
pretty
cool.
neat.
That's
Tight end
cool.
is cool.
tight end and defensive end
Yeah.
next to Popkeys. I was next to Gary Popkeys. Both.
Yeah.
77, man. That guy was a beast.
Yeah.
That was a good team. I keep saying it. That's a team that's kind of gotten lost in all the years.
Can I tell you a story? Remember in practice, Gary Popkeys kicked off?
Yeah.
Remember in practice, it was a Thursday, so it was pregame. We're doing a kickoff deal, and he missed the ball.
Oh, yeah. Remember that? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I do.
I think all of us were on the ground.
I was worried that he hurt himself. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Big Gary. He ended up at SDSU in Augustana. Yeah.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah. So.
Well, thanks again, guys. Thanks for the memories.
Thank you.
So first of all, before we ended here, I just want to remind everyone that next week, Thursday, April 7th, we'll be back for our 3rd episode of Season 2. Our topic will be the 1998 season.
Ooh, another
1998.
good team.
And then trivia going into next week. Which team was new to Class 3A District 1 in 1998? Which team, I'll give you a hint, it wasn't CLGLR. Which team was new to Class 3A District 1 football, 1998? So think about that this next week. We'll lead that. We'll answer that in the first.
Was it a team we played?
Well, it had to be. It was in our district.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the teams we played. So I mean, it's not going to be. There aren't that many options.
You know it, Toad?
It's hard to come up with trivia
I
questions.
think I know it.
Boyd Hall Rock.
I would assume.
We'll figure it. You'll have to figure it out.
I won't say it right now, though, because we'll have to answer it next week.
Yeah.
That,
But anyway, that's next week. But to wrap things up here, again, just want to thank, especially obviously, thank our guests. You guys, it's been great. You know, we talked about this season. Kurt and I, we started thinking about this in February, what seasons we were going to do, and we just kind of started looking at the trophy case, and we were like, should we do 88? It's CLGLR, but 88 was just CL, but it's like, well, no, but it's still part of our history. We got to go, and then we started looking back into a little bit, just a little quick history of it to realize to go from like 77 to 88. It's like, let's do 88. But then, knowing that he and I weren't going to have any memories from it, and then talking to Tobin, and he was like, well, I wasn't on the sideline for a lot of those games, so I want to thank you four for helping us out and just making this an awesome experience for me especially.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys too, because at my first year, you guys made a young coach feel good about being at a spot, and what a great. I mean, how could I ever not have hit a home run coming to Central Line when the first class I got to deal with is these guys? I mean,
you were so cool.
Yeah.
No, you're like that cool coach.
But
you talked me into going out for trash.
That's right. Yeah.
I remember that.
But it was
that's
it was
right.
so much
Crap,
fun. It was so much fun because it's just I'd never been around a group like this, and I'd never and the way you guys got me started in that program, and the way you guys have got that program, it was a pleasure to have been around here that first year when you guys were here. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys. So thanks, Jeff, for setting all this up.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun. It's great seeing you guys. We don't stay in touch.
Can't see me.
Yeah, and hey, Heybo, love you, brother.
Yeah, Heybo.
Heybo, you ever get back here, we'll meet down here, okay?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And you buy the beer.
I told him if he showed up, I was going to buy for him the whole weekend.
Joe's gonna.
Heybo,
Joe's buying the whole weekend.
Joe told me that he told you I was going to fly you out here.
Yeah.
No, Joe told me he was flying me out.
Okay.
Yeah, and he actually declined.
Oh, okay. I told him we don't have quite that budget here.
I don't fly first class, so we're good there.
You get those Allegiant flights,
exactly.
Phoenix or wherever. And
Well, this has been a treat tonight, guys. It really has.
Thanks,
Well,
guys.
it's good seeing you guys.
yeah.
Take care, Heybo.
Love you, Heybo.
Yeah, love you, bud.
So
All right.
thank everyone,
Thanks, guys.
everybody for being here, everyone listening, and we'll be back.
Logan, I got your hand there. I can't see your face because the camera is facing not towards you. There's my boy.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you to everyone, and we'll be back next week.
We'll be back again soon, but in the meantime, please rate, review, and subscribe. Tell your friends about our podcast, as we are now available on YouTube, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And of course, follow us on social. We are at CLGLR Football on Twitter and Instagram. Or you can contact us by emailing clglrfb@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and go Lions!